Sabala, good morning. Let's wait for 1 or 2 minutes.
Okay, Prashant.
Okay, let's get started, guys. I'm not sure why others haven't dialed in. Okay, they'll go through that recording. So we discussed FRS report features yesterday. So we executed one of the seeded FRS report given by Oracle. So we executed USA balance sheet report, and we've tried to understand how exactly FRS reports work. What is the data source for FRS reports? It's basically SPSQ, and we've also seen what all features you can plug into an FRS report, right? So we have seen how you can plug in. We've seen that we can plug in prompt into FRS report. We have seen point of views, and we have seen how to configure the rows, columns, what different types of rows you can have, and all that, right? In today's session, what we'll do is we'll create an FRS report from scratch, and we'll try to plug in all the features that you have seen in the USA balance sheet report yesterday. So what report are we going to build? We are going to create an income statement report. We're going to create an income statement report, and that income statement report is going to have two sections: income section and line section. Expenses section, similar to what you had in the expense report in the balance sheet report section. In the balance sheet report section, we had two sections, right? Assets, liabilities, and equity. So in a similar fashion, let me open this instance in a different URL as well, so that I can keep giving comparison wherever applicable. So if you go into others, from others tab, you will be able to access FRC. And when you try to execute a balance sheet report, yes, the first thing it does is it throws up a prompt. And you will select the company segment for which you want to view the balance sheet report. And go ahead with the default values 101 and company, a total company segment, and you would see the output generated. Okay, and you see multiple sections in the report output, right? Like assets and liabilities. So we're going to create a similar report in FRS from scratch today, and that's not a balance sheet report; it's an income statement report that we're going to create. And in that income statement report, we will have two sections, basically income section and the expenses section. And we'll see how to plug in all the features that you see in this particular report into the income statement report. So let's go ahead and start creating a report. So to create a report, click on this, open workspace for financials. That will basically take you into an EPM page, Enterprise Performance Management page. All you have to do from this particular screen is click on Tools, and you have to launch Financial Reporting Web Studio. So click on that. And when you click on it, the Financial Reporting Studio opens up. And what is a Financial Reporting Studio? It's basically a software or a tool which you use to build FRS reports. And to create a new report, what you have to do, click on the plus icon and click on New, and you can create a new report. Okay. And if you want to open an existing FRS reports, you go into Shared folders. You will go into Custom, and you can go into Fin folder within it. And under Fin folder, you have FR folder. So this FR folder basically shows you, FR stands for financial reports, and this will show you all the standard reports given by Oracle. Okay, so you can create a new one. Click on the drop down, click on New and New Report. And whenever you create a new report, basically there are three things that you configure, right? You could think of this like a Word document. Okay, so you have a report header, you have body, and you have footer, and you have the size as well here. So what you normally do in a header is, in a footer, you could probably plug in some terms and conditions if you want. And in the header, what you normally plug in is a logo and a report heading. That's what you normally put into a header. And let's configure body first. And body is where you configure this grid or the table with all the options that you need. So you click on body, and here. And what is it that you want to add within the body? You want to add the grid. Grid is nothing but a table that you add. This particular table that you see, that is what we are trying to add in an FRS report now. And whenever you try to add a grid, first of all, it will ask you to connect to the Essbase Cube, a database where you want to pull this information. And what you select here is a chart of accounts from which you want to pull the balances. Okay, so if you probably want to pull the balances from US chart, your US primary ledger, you can select US chart of accounts here. If you want to pull the balances from UK primary ledger, you will select UK chart of accounts. So you basically select the chart of accounts, appropriate chart of accounts, and you connect to that particular database. Click OK. And this would establish connection with the Essbase Cube. Remember, at the end of the day, you should have the balances pulled from Essbase Cube, right? So that is what you're doing here. You're first connecting to a database. And since you're configuring a grid is nothing but a table. And what do you need to configure in a grid? You need to configure rows and you need to configure columns, right? So what was used as rows in a balance sheet report? Even though you're seeing accounts receivable here, what do we know from yesterday's session? We know that there was an account number tagged to this particular line called 12,000. So what is used as rows? Account number is used as rows. And what is used as columns here? Accounting period is used as columns. So you can select those options here as well. I mean, in the report that we're going to build, the income statement report, we're going to stick to the same design. And in fact, this will be the same design that you will use for 90% of the FRS reports. Like you will be using accounts as rows and you will be using accounting period as columns. Okay, there might be exceptions, but usually this will be the case. So I want to select account and drop it in the rows. Yes, I want to use account as row and I want to use accounting period as column. And then you have pages as well that you configure, right? The pages. What did we configure as pages, or what was configured as pages in the balance sheet report? We've seen that yesterday. It was basically a prompt that was configured, right? And it's basically a prompt for a company segment that has been configured. So you can select company segment. You can select company segment as a page here. Okay, so you are basically creating a table and you're selecting what do you want to use as rows and what do you want to use as columns. And the moment you do that, you see that there is a table that got added. Okay, you see a table added. And what you can do is before you build the report further, try to save it, because if you're doing a development on a web page, and there's a higher chance that it can go into a not responding state. And if it does happen, you will lose all the changes that you have not saved. So it's always a good idea to keep saving your report once in a while. So you save your report and you need to select where you want to save your report. And if you intend to run your FRS report from this particular work area, from the FRC work area, Financial Reporting Center work area, from where you kicked off this balance sheet report, or if you intend to access the custom report also from FRC work area, then you will have to save it to this particular folder, shade folder, custom, and you have fin folder within it. And you have FR folder. And you can probably save your report into this particular folder. So it gets saved into this fin FR folder. You can give it a name. You could say, you can say UG income statement. Okay, and you can save it. So your report gets saved. Your report has been saved now. And what do? You can start building your report now. And yes, I have a table created. I have a row, account row, and I have period as a column. And to select value for an account, and before I select a value, what is it that I want to do? I want to give a heading like this. Like, let's execute a balance sheet report again. We'll go with the default values. And I want to give a heading like this, a section heading, like what you see as assets or current assets here, right? So I want to give a heading. So you select a row, you do a right click, and you say insert row. And when you try to insert a row, remember there are three types of rows possible in FRS report, right? It can be a data row, it can be a text row, which you typically use for heading. So it can be a formula row. You will use this for formulas wherever you want to do a summary. So I want to add a text row, and I'll leave one row space. I'll add another text row, and in this particular text row, I will enter the heading, and I want to call it as, it's an income statement report, statement report. So you can call this as income. And you can give, you can format this in a slightly different fashion, similar to how it's appearing here. So what you could do is you can go to format, cell, and you can decide the font or the color. So for example, if you want it to appear in a slightly different color, you can format it that way. And you can also increase the size as well if you want. If you want to make it one size big, you can do it. And under the income statement, under the income section, I want to display the balances of balances from income account. So whenever you get a report requirement for FRS, they will tell you from which accounts you need to pull the balances. Okay, so for income, in the specification that I've got, I had to pull the balances from a revenue account. It is 95011. Okay, so what I have to do, I will have to come back into the report, and to select a value in a row, I have to double click on it. And when you double click on it, a member selection window opens up like this, and you can select the value for your account. and there is a default placeholder there. You can bring it to the right. Okay, you can select it, you can bring it to the right, and you can expand accounts, and you have hierarchies in there. These are basically the account hierarchies, and you can open up all corporate accounts V1, and from that you can pick up this particular account segment. So you see 95011. This is a revenue account, right? And within it, we've got a 4,000 as a child account number, but that's okay. We will add in only 95011 as a main revenue account. So you drag it to the right. You could see that the main revenue account has been selected, 95011, and you click OK. So what happens now? So the balance from this particular account number will be pulled and it will be displayed here. Right? So the balance from 95011 account number, which is a revenue account, will be pulled and displayed here. Of course, we didn't configure the periods yet, but we'll configure it. But do you want in the output, do you want to display 95011 as a heading here, or do you want to show it as a custom heading like a revenue? Like what you see here, you see accounts receivable. Even though internally the account used is 12,000, you see the heading as accounts receivable, right? How did Oracle achieve it? It has plugged in a custom heading for the account. So we do the same thing. We'll select the row and we say custom heading, and we'll say you want to call this as a revenue account, and you enter it. After you enter it, you can click on it and you will be able to see, you can see if it is saved or not. You could see that it is saved now. You can save the report. So that's about the income section. And let's say I want to add in another section into the report. So you do a right click, insert row, insert a text row. Let's add in a blank row, insert other text row, and we will call this as expenses section. And you can format it the way you formatted the income heading. So you select a different color, increase the font size a little bit, click OK. And I want to add in another data row here. So you add in a data row, and whenever you add a data row, what will happen is that data row will take the formatting from a previous row, and it will pick up the account number from a previous data row. And I don't need both of them. So I need to correct the formatting first. So this is a normal row. So I want it to appear like a black in color, default color, and it has to be regular size because it's a data row. And I'm also not okay with the custom heading. It's basically I can take it off. And here, expenses doesn't come from 95011 account number. So I need to double click on it. That will open up a member selection window. And this is basically a revenue account, 95011. So I need to take it off, and I need to select the expense related account numbers. So what are the expense related account numbers? So you expand this. You don't need to guess it. Client will tell you what accounts you need to pick up. So if you go into V1, you have net income current year, you have revenue and expenses, and this is what we are interested in, expenses accounts. And you see that there are three types of expenses here: materials and goods expense, operating expense, and a tax expense. So you select all those three accounts because I want to see, I want to display expenses by type. I don't want to display the balance or expenses from a parent account. Okay, so I select all these three rows and I move them into the selected columns. And remember, I'm selecting these members from a single data row. And in a single data row, you cannot plug all the three accounts, right? So for that reason, what you do is you tick this box. And what will happen if you tick this? If you select multiple account numbers, those multiple account numbers will be placed in multiple rows. Okay. So the selections that you have done here will be placed into separate rows. You click OK. And what do you see now? You see that the account numbers, the separate account, the child expense accounts are showing up here, 50,000, 60,000, and 70,000. But you need to correct the custom heading here. So the custom heading for 50,000 is a goods expense. And the second heading is operating expense. Second account is operating expenses. And the third one is a tax expense. So you give those custom headings. And what else you can do? So that's like adding this particular section. And you can also have a total section because you have multiple rows here, right? You have multiple expenses. So you could probably have a total section as well. So you select the last row, insert row, and you can say a formula row there. And you can add in a data row so that the total is, sorry, not the data row, a text row. So you delete this row, add in a text row so that the last row will not be the section or will not be the column totals. And in here, you can give a heading. You can say, let's say custom heading. You can call it as total expenses. And the problem with this is after you enter it, sometimes it may not get saved. Yeah, it seems to be saved now. And you can also, yeah, you can get those alignment correct. You can probably format the cell and you can go into alignment. You can say left, right, and center. Select whatever is appropriate for that particular field, or you can align it left or right as well if you want. Okay, and what you can do, you want to print this. Yeah, you want to print the summary here. And what's the summary? Summary of 6, 7, and 8. How did Oracle print this particular summary row? They are doing a sum of all these rows, right? So in a similar fashion, I want to sum up these 3 rows. So in such case, what you could do is you can use the summary function, and you have many other functions, many other aggregate functions that you could use apart from summary. You have, if you want to see the list of them, you can click on the drop down and you can see. You have count, you have sum, you have difference, and you have many of them there. Okay, so I want to use sum. So I'll say sum, and I want to sum up a range of columns. I want to sum up rows from 6 to 8. So whenever you want to sum up a range of columns, you can put them into you can put them into square brackets, and you can say 6:8. Okay, meaning sum up rows from 6 to 8, 6, 7, and 8. So I hope I've got the format correct. Yeah, you can pass it this way. Sum 6:8. And you can save this. If you don't hit the save button, it doesn't get saved. Okay, so that's how you configure a summary column. So we have seen how to configure rows using accounts. We've seen how to configure data rows with how to configure multiple sections. One section had one row, but other section has multiple rows. And we have also seen how to add a summary row. All good. And now let's worry about the other bits in the FRS report. So we've configured rows. Now let's talk about columns. How did Oracle configure columns for this particular report? It was done in a pretty simple way, right? So all it was doing is it was picking up the account number or account period from the current LOV. So you have accounting period LOV or point of view in the report, and there was a default value assigned as well. And whatever value was selected in the accounting period or point of view, that was used as a first period. And the second period, there was a blank column, and in the third column, it was a relative accounting period that was configured, which was looking at the same period prior 1 year prior to this. It's like we were doing a -13 from this particular period. Why -13 even though we have 12 periods? Because we will typically have one adjustment period. So we are taking off 13 periods from 12-19, and that gives us 12-18. That's how these two columns were configured in the report. You can configure it this way if you want. It's plain and simple. You could look at balance sheet report itself and configure it that way. But what we do is we do it in a slightly complicated way in our report. So since this is an income statement report, I want to display income and expenses for a rolling 12-month period. So meaning, if user runs the report with a period as 12-19, I don't want to just display 2 columns. I want to display 12 columns. And in those 12 columns, I want to display 12 periods starting from 01-19 till 12-19. So I basically want to display a rolling 12-month balances ending with the period that is selected in the point of view. So for that, what I have to do is I'll have to do a range. I'll have to use a command called range. Okay. So I can use a command called range. And when I say range, it will ask me to select a start member. And it will ask me to select an end member as well. Okay, so what should be the start member and what should be end member? End member is plain and simple. It is whatever value that has been selected in accounting period point of view. Plain and simple. But what should be the start member? The start member should be accounting period point of view. It is relative member accounting period point of view minus 13. Sorry, minus 11. Because if user selects 12-19 as a accounting period value in a point of view, we want the balances to start getting printed from 01-19. So it's like 12 minus 11. So we'll have to configure the start member as relative member of accounting period point of view minus 11. Offset will be minus 11 or offset will be 11. So how do you configure that? So you double click on the accounting period and you see that there is a default placeholder there. You take it off. And I need to use a function called range here. So you go into functions. And there is a range function that you could use. Select that. Move it into the selected rows. And whenever you select a range, you have to select a start member and an end member. So let's knock off the easier one first. End member, what is it going to be? It is going to be the current period, current point of view for accounting period. So whatever value is selected in the point of view for accounting period, that is what we want to consider as an end period for end member. Meaning if 12-19 is selected as a value, that will be our end member. And from what period we want to show the balances, it will be this period minus 11, right? So you click on this, the start member, and a start member, I want to use a relative member function. Go into functions, and I want to configure this as a relative member to the accounting period point of view. And when you say relative member, it'll ask you to which member is this a relative. Okay, so you select accounting period point of view value. It's a relative of this. And you say how many periods you want to go back. You want to go back 11 periods in time. So if accounting period is selected as 12-19, we want to do a minus 11 so that we get 01-19. And you select accounting period as a hierarchy. I'm not particularly sure what we have to select here. That's okay. Well, leave it blank and click OK. And click on done. And you will see a detailed function coming up here. So what is it saying? It is saying it's a range from, it's a range. Yes, you have 2 members in it, from and to. And what is the from period? It is a relative to current point of view accounting period minus 11. Meaning if it's 12-19, it will be 12 minus 11. It will be 01-19 to 12-19 current point of view for accounting period. You click OK. And that logic will get added here and you can save it. Okay. So if you see here, you don't see 12 periods getting added here. You don't see 12 columns added here, but that will, when you run the report, there will be 12 columns that get added and it will show the balances for rolling 12-month period. Okay. So this is basically the complex use case than what you have seen in a USA balance sheet report. And apart from this, what else can we do in a report? Yes, you can also configure. If you go back into the report, you can configure point of views, and you can also configure pages as well. So how do we add point of views to a report? You select the grid, or you have accounting period point of view. You have point of views here. You could see that there are point of views showing up there. And all you have to do is, if you want to add them or if you want to assign default values to them, then all you have to do is click on it. Say, for example, for accounting period point of view, I want to use a default value of 12-19. So I'll select 12-19 as a default value for an accounting period. And for a ledger, it is US primary ledger that has been selected. And go to all ledgers, and you can select US primary ledger. Okay, so you could select default values for a point of view or point of values, and I've also mentioned what values you need to select in the PPT. So what you could do is you could select scenario as actual, so that it shows only the actual journals, not the encumbrance and other journals. And it's already selected as actual, I believe. It's already selected as actual. And you have balance amount. So whenever you display the balances, okay, whenever you display the balances in an FRS report, so these balances, you have three options. So it is basically a balance of an account number in a specific period, right? So this particular balance is a balance of 12,000 account number in 12-19 period. So there are three options available as to what balance you want to display here. Do you want to display the balance of 12,000 account number at the beginning of this period, or at the end of this period, or do you want to see the movement of it? Say, for example, if 12,000 account number has a balance of 100 at the beginning of 12-19 period, and let's say 50 got added during that period and to the accounts receivables account. So what will be the balance account? What will be the ending balance? It will be 150. So 12,000 account number, beginning balance is 100 for a 12-19 period. During the period, 50 got added and the ending balance is 150. So you can pick and choose, what do you want to display here? Do you want to display 100, which is a beginning balance? Or do you want to display 50, which is a period activity? Or do you want to display 150, which is an ending balance of that account number in that specific period? Okay, and that is what you select in a balance amount here. So here, in the case of reports like balance sheet, it makes sense to display end balance, because at the end of that particular period or a financial year, you want to see what is the balance against that particular account number, and it makes absolute sense here. But in the case of income statement report, you might probably be more worried about how much you gained during that particular period rather than what was the beginning balance or ending balance. So it makes more sense to display period activity in a statement like a cash flow statement or income statement report. Okay, so you could select it as, you could select appropriate value there. You can select it as period activity and currency. So you can select currency as USD. Okay, it's already selected as USD. You can probably search for it. Okay, click OK, and that is what has been selected. Click OK, that's fine. And after that, so what else you could do in an FRS report? In an FRS report, you can add pages. And if you remember, how was the page configured for USA balance sheet report? it is configured as a prompt for company segment, right? So that's why whatever value is selected in the prompt for a company segment, that will show up in the drop down. So since we selected 101 and total company, you could see two segments in here. So you can make a similar selection. You can plug in similar logic in our case as well. You could say, you can say prompt for company. You should be able to double click. Yeah, you click on this, click on company. Instead of clicking on, yeah, take out the default placeholder and you select prompt for company as an option and you click OK. So that gets selected as a page and you can enter title. So this title is like how you want the prompt to appear. So if I click OK on this and if I execute the report again, what do you see? You see the prompt showing up first, right? So you see the prompt showing up first and you see a prompt. So what is being selected here? What is showing up here? Selection. So what exactly do you want to see here as a title or as a prompt? So you could probably say please enter company. And you can also select default members. So you see some members are selected as default here, right? So you can select what companies you want to select as a default for your report. So you could probably select something similar to what Oracle did here. You could say, you could select the total company and 101 segment. So you can say all company values, select 101, and you can also select all company values if you want. Okay, or you can take this off and you can select the total company itself and move it in. Okay, similar to what Oracle has done. So we are selecting a default values for a prompt. And you can also select how you want that to be displayed, or these values to be displayed. So if you see here, it's only the member name that gets displayed. Or if you want, you can display member name and an alias as well, or you can display alias or both. So what does alias mean? Some people might not know what 101 is, right? So it might be US1 legal entity. So if you want to make it explicit that what 101 company is all about, so you can decide what you want to display in the default values here. So you could stick to member name. If you say member name, only the member name gets displayed. If you say alias, it'll also display what's the company segment stands for. What is 101? Is it US1 legal entity or US2 legal entity? Okay, so that's how you configure a prompt, and you can save it after you configure it. And what else you can do? You can of course run the report, and you can go into the header, and you can plug in image and a text. You can plug in image as well. I'll plug in a text. And in the text, you can say, you can call it as UG income statement report. Okay, you can give whatever name you want. Instead of report, you can take this off. You can increase the size if you want, or you can also change the color as well if you want. Okay, you can format it the way you want it. Okay, you can go back into grid. Okay, save it. It's like saving a report object. I believe you could reuse report objects across reports. So that's okay. You added a report heading. You call it in UG income statement. So that shows up here in the header. And if you click on the report, you will be able to see the header there. And you can move it as well if you want. Yeah, you can add it. You can move it. You can put it in the center. And what do you do? If you want, you can also add in the logo if you have. So you click on this, and if you have a logo, you can click on image and you can upload it. That will show up here. Okay, and that's something that I'll leave it for you guys. I'll save it, and it's done. And there's one more thing, one very important thing that we need to do. So what makes FRS report stand out? It's the ability to drill down to the to the journals and the subledger transactions, right? And how it doesn't come by default. You have to explicitly enable it. So you select the grid, and when you select the grid, it shows the properties of the grid. And if you scroll down, you will have an option to enable drill through functionality there. Okay, and you have to select it, and then you see that icon showing up, and you have to save it as well. Okay, and if you click on this, click on the grid and see if it is saved or not. If you scroll down, you could see that it is saved. And apart from this, you also have some suppression options. So suppression options are like whenever you have some values which are missing. So if, say for example, you have used an account and a period, but there's a zero balance for that particular account in that period. How do you want that to appear? Do you want it to appear like hash zero or hash missing, or do you want to appear like a hash zero, or do you want it to appear like a zero? So this, and you might have a scenario wherein you might have an account number and a period, and there might not be any journal created for that particular account number in that particular period. In which case, meaning no data. In which case, do you whatever tag you see here, hash missing, that will appear here instead of the actual value. Instead of the balance, you will see a value called hash missing getting printed. So if client says that no, I want to see it as a slightly different way, you could say no data like this, or you could plug in whatever string clients want you to plug in there. Okay, so these options, and if you have some error, the error hash error shows up there. Okay, so you could change the suppression values if you want. You save the report, and you can go ahead and execute this to see how it looks like. And this a total expense also, we will move it to the right. Over to the left, borders and shading, or you're going to font. Change it to that different color that we had for sections, and you could probably make it 9. Okay, and you can save the report. And let's go ahead and execute this. And to execute this report, what you have to do is you have to come out of the current session that you are in at the moment. Sign out and log into the instance in an incognito mode. As this the same instance that we have used now. We used ET80 instance. Good that we have checked, otherwise we would have spent time worrying about why we are not seeing the report. Yeah, you can use a fin_impl and get the password. And it usually takes a minute or two for the report to show up here in the others tab. UG income statement. Okay, let's wait for a minute. It is in ET80 instance that we have saved the report, and we did save this to the appropriate folder. If I understand correctly, you could see where it is saved, shared custom fin FR folder. Okay, that's true. Let's go back to home page and come back in again. We use UG account income statement as a report name here. Let's sign out and sign in again. Or we could probably try signing in from an incognito mode here. Can enter the password. Others, FRC. And you're going to Alt Tab and you can search for UG income statement. You could see that it's showing up now. Select that and you can execute the report. So wait for a minute or so. And what is the first thing that you should see? You should see the prompt similar to what you have seen for USA balance sheet report, and you see 101 in total company, and you click OK, and that should execute the report and display the balances. Okay, so you could see, yeah, you could see a 12 periods showing up here. Okay, we didn't plug in a logo here. So if you have probably plugged in logo, the heading gets pushed to the center. Okay, and you could see first of all, you see multiple sections here, income and expenses section. Under income section, you see a revenue account balance. Yes, the negative revenue might have been reported in the periods. And how many periods do you see first? You see 12 periods. It's a rolling 12-month period that we have created. It's showing balances for a rolling 12-month period. Why is it showing 12-19 here? That's showing 12-19 here. That's because it was selected as 12-19 as a default value here. And we are, how are we arriving at a start number? We are doing a -11 from that, right? So that's why it got defaulted to 01-11. And the balances from that has been displayed. For expenses, okay, so you see a revenue showing a price here. That's because you didn't, probably we didn't change the heading of the others. Okay, so we might have probably not changed the heading of the others. This is goods expense. You say yes, and you click on this arrow mark, only then it gets saved. And then you go into the second row and you can save it as you can, and this is operating expense, and you save it. And the third one is a tax expense, and you save that. So if you run the report, those would show up with the appropriate headings. And you can also add in, you do a right click and you can, you see that the point of views are showing up at the top here, right? So if you see the point of views, the point of views are showing up at the top. So you can add that grid point of view to the report itself. So you can click on grid point of view, and that would add the point of views to the report grid. And you can select the default values there. So you can select, say for accounting period, I want to select it as 12-19. And you can select the default values for other attributes as well, like the primary ledger. And you can select the balances as scenario as actuals. You want to see only the actual journals, not the encumbrance and others. And you scroll to the right, and you can select the currency as USD, and the amount type you need to select it as period activity. Not this one. I think it's a balance type. Your balance amount. You can display it as a period activity. So that means you want to display it as a 50, not 100 or 150, assuming 100 and 150 are a closing balance, ending, beginning and ending balance. And you go in here, and you can select the currency as well. And currency, what do you want to select it as? You want to select it as USD. So you can search for USD. Click OK. Okay, you could see that currency is saved as USD, and you could save this. So earlier we saved values at the top. How do you add grid to the point grid to your or a point of use to your grid? So you click on the grid and you do a right click and you say grid point of use. And once you select that, once you click on it, the point of use get added to the report. So meaning it would get displayed, and these point of views would get displayed within the table here, unlike at the top. Okay, similar to what you see in a standard in the standard report. I think we've come out of it. Yeah. And there's one more thing that you could do. Say, for example, for the point of views, you can leave them open or you can restrict them, right? So if you want a user to be able to run this report only in USD currency, how do you do it? You do a right click, go into grid point of view setup, and there you can select what values user can select for a specific point of view. And by default, it will be all, meaning a user would be able to select any value for that particular value, for that particular point of view. And if you want to lock member selection, you can lock it. And when you lock it, what will happen? User will not be able to select any value other than the default value selected. Okay, or if you want to say enable a couple of currencies, you can click on search option here and you can enable what all members you want to let that user be able to select. Okay, you can do it this way, lock it, or you can go into member selection window and you can say let user select only 2 or 3 values, whatever you see here. Okay, so you can select some values and you can say instead of all, you can say only the options that were selected in here. So if you say lock member selection, then only USD will be allowed. Click OK, save the report. And let's try to execute the report again. I'm not sure if you have to sign out and sign in again. Let's try. Yeah, the changes are not getting reflected, so you probably have to sign out and sign in again. You can open up a new tab, new incognito window. It's ET80. And you can key in the password. fin_IMPL, sign in, and we'll execute the report for one last time. Can execute it. Click OK. Yeah, you could see that the changes are getting reflected now. And if for a point of view, if you select a default value, those will start showing up within the grid. Yes, if you upload a logo, this comes into the middle. And you see the pages 101 and company, and you see these values as well. So if you look at, we've set default value for 5 point of views, and those 5 have come in here, and the remaining ones at the top. And for these 4, I can select any period and I can run the report. But for currency, you see it is not disabled, it is disabled. It's like a hyperlink is disabled. And you could also see the expenses tab have been changed, expenses labels have been changed. And you could see the expense, individual expense balances and the total expense as well. And if I change this to company, you will notice that the balances would increase or would get updated. And you're seeing a negative revenue here. That doesn't mean we have done something wrong in our report. It just means that negative revenue was reported in that particular period. As simple as that. And remember, we enabled drill through functionality, right? So if you say, for example, if you expand this, what account number did we select for this one? Goods expense, it's 50,000, right? So if you want to see from which child accounts that 50,000 or the balance of 50,000 account number has come from, you can do that quickly by just double clicking on it. Okay, you could see the account number, and if you expand it, you will be able to see the child accounts from which that balance has come from. Okay, similarly, you can also drill down to figure out the journals or the subledger transactions from where you have got this balance. And what you could also do is you can also print information in a graphical format here if you want. I've given instructions in the PPT. You can try it out. All you have to do is select what you want to print as a graph. You could probably print these expenses as a line chart. Okay, so that it will be easy for you to do the comparison, or anyone looking at the report, instead of going through these balances. If you print it in a line graph, as a line graph, just one quick look at it, you will be able to figure out which expense has been steady throughout the year and which expense has been on an increasing wave. Any questions, guys? Any questions in what we covered today? Okay, so this is slightly difficult topic where FRS and smart fee reports, because we are not typically used to these type of reports, building these type of reports in real time. It's not that you would definitely be asked to build an FRS report, but it's highly likely if you're working in a finance implementation project that you might be asked to build a report. And yeah, from what we have covered in yesterday's and today's session, you should be able to achieve it quite easily. Thank you, guys. Thanks for your time. Then, if you don't have any questions, we'll wrap it up and we'll meet again tomorrow and we'll start off with a new topic. Thank you.
Okay.